While the world was busy saving Spira in Final Fantasy X, a much darker, stranger story was unfolding in the shadows of the PlayStation 2. It's a story about a smart-mouth protagonist who fuses with demons, a martial arts master, and a real-world historical setting twisted into a gothic punk nightmare. This is the story of Shadow Hearts, a game that's brilliant because it's broken and a masterpiece that history has tried to forget. It came out in 2001, a tough time for new JRPGs to make a splash on Sony's new console, and it was immediately overshadowed by Titans. While everyone else was talking about Tidus and Yuna, a small, dedicated group of players were discovering something else entirely. Something weirder. Something with a Lovecraftian horror story, a combat system that demanded rhythm and precision, and a brash loudmouth hero. For over 2 decades, Shadow Hearts has stayed a cult classic, in the truest sense of the word, a game whispered about on forums and in hidden gem videos, praised for its wild ambition and criticized for its flaws. But what if those flaws, the janky graphics, the sometimes punishing difficulty, the jarring tonal shifts, aren't just blemishes? What if they're the very thing that make it a masterpiece? Today we're digging up this forgotten legend, dissecting its beautiful, beating, and slightly broken heart, to make the case for why this perfect mess deserves to be remembered. So, what is Shadow Hearts? On the surface, it's a turn-based JRPG from a studio called Sanoth, a team made up of X-Square staff, but that description doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. The game is set in 1913, on the eve of World War I, in an alternative version of our world. Forget idyllic fantasy villages. Shadow Hearts throws you into the gritty, politically charged landscape of a pre-war Asia and Europe. You'll travel from Japanese-occupied territories in China to the cobblestone streets of Prague, all while battling demons, ghosts, and eldritch horrors. It's a sequel to an even less known PS1 horror game called Kuldeka, and it carries that game's dark, gothic DNA in its very soul. This isn't a story about saving the world with the power of friendship. It's steeped in occultism, folklore, historical conflict, and cosmic dread. It masterfully weaves together political intrigue, graphic horror, and surprisingly funny character moments into something utterly unique. And yet, for all its brilliance, the game is a mess. It's beautiful, but it's also janky as hell. The pacing can be uneven, the graphics were dated even for the time, and its core gameplay mechanic is a source of both incredible satisfaction and controller throwing frustration. When it was released, many reviewers dismissed it, holding it up to the polished perfection of Final Fantasy X, and finding it lacking. But that's why we're here. The perfection of Final Fantasy is one kind of masterpiece, but the flawed, ambitious, and bizarre chaos of Shadow Hearts is another. It's a game that takes risks. It refuses to be boxed in. It trusts the players to handle its sharp edges and unforgiving nature. The very messiness of Shadow Hearts is its tonal whiplash, its unrefined systems, its unapologetic weirdness is its greatest strength. And what lifts it from just being another forgotten JRPG into a true cult classic. A perfect mess we need to celebrate. Every great JRPG needs a memorable hero, and Shadow Hearts delivers one of the most unconventional protagonists in the genre's history. Meet 𝐸𝐸. He's a Harmonixer, a rare person who can absorb the souls of defeated demons and fuse with them in battle. He's powerful and cocky and has a voice in his head telling him what to do. He's also a total pervert. How can he not be when the first lines in the game is his eternal dialogue when he comes across a young woman? Anyway, the game's opening sets the tone perfectly. We're on a train in Manchuria. A young woman, Alice Elliott, is being escorted by Japanese Imperial Army when a well-dressed warlock attacks. Just as things look dire, Yuri bursts onto the scene. Does he make a grand and heroic entrance? Nope, he crashes in to confront the warlock, a man calling himself Roger Bacon, and after losing an arm and crushing the head of the creature that Bacon has been using to do his dirty work, he simply, in an act of defiance, reaches down and reattaches his arm, and then charges. For this, he gets blasted back through several train cars and then comes back for more. On top of the speeding train, he has a badass cutscene where he punches Bacon's eye in, only to watch it gruesomely regenerate. This is our hero, ladies and gentlemen, a snarky brawler who moments later will fuse into a grotesque demon and save the day. It's an introduction that's equal parts shocking and awesome, and it perfectly captures this game's bizarre charm. Yuri isn't your typical brooding JRPG hero. He's a loudmouth, a jerk with a hidden heart of gold, and his pervy tendencies are a running gag. In any other story, this would possibly be insufferable. But in Shadow Hearts, it just works. His crass humor is a necessary counterbalance to the game's oppressive and dark atmosphere. He's the flickering candle in the vast, terrifying darkness, keeping the story from collapsing under its own grimness. His journey from smart aleck loner to a hero willing to sacrifice everything is one of the most compelling character arcs on the PlayStation 2. Of course, Yuri isn't alone. The party he assembles is just as delightfully weird. You have Alice Elliott, the damsel in distress from the train. She seems like a standard white mage at first, an innocent, pious exorcist from England, but her journey is one of immense strength and tragic sacrifice as she grapples with a powerful and dangerous ability. Then there's Zhujin Li, a stoic and powerful Taoist sorcerer from China who acts as the group's wise mentor, though even he has a dry wit. He's a master of omniyoto magic. His quest is tied to stopping the demonic forces threatening his homeland. Joining the team is Margaret Gertrude Zelle, a gorgeous spy who is also an expert in explosives. Her first mission involves trying to seduce Yuri for information and before they end up fighting a monster in a sewer. She's competent, funny, and constantly putting Yuri in his place. And possibly, maybe, the most bizarre addition is Keith Valentine, a 400-year-old vampire nobleman who joins the party purely out of boredom. He speaks in flowery prose, carries a rapier, and his main motivation for fighting world-ending demons is that it seemed more interesting than sitting in this castle for another century. And how could we forget the Esper kid we find in the streets of London, the leader of a small group of orphans who is trying to find his much more powerful mother, Koudelka. I mean, he knows where she is, but he just can't reach her due to those who hold her bonds. Haley Brackett, with his chimney sweep vibe, just brings the setting to life while we visit orphanages, insane asylums, and the rest of the British countryside. This motley crew of a demon-fusing pervert, a devout exorcist, an ancient Chinese wizard, a sexy super spy, and a bored vampire shouldn't work. They're a collection of clashing tones and archetypes, yet their interactions are the heart and soul of the game. The witty banter and the moments of genuine camaraderie make them one of the most memorable parties in any JRPG. They are a found family of outcasts and weirdos, and watching them navigate this dark world is an absolute joy. They perfectly embody the game's perfect mess philosophy, a chaotic, mismatched group that somehow creates something truly special. But what about the story? That's where Shadow Hearts really sets itself apart. It boldly rejects high fantasy tropes and grounds itself in a dark, twisted version of early 20th century history. This isn't just a backdrop, it's a fundamental to the story's identity. The game starts in 1913, with the world teetering on the brink of global war, and this tension is felt in every part of the journey. The first half of the game takes place across China, a setting rarely explored in JRPGs, especially by a Japanese developer at the time. The party travels through cities like Shanghai and Fengtian, locations that feel both historically grounded and deeply unsettling. The game doesn't shy away from the political realities of the era, referencing the Japanese occupation and the simmering conflicts that would soon explode into World War I. This historical context gives the supernatural horror real weight. The monsters feel less like random encounters and more like physical manifestations of the world's growing darkness. The tone is a masterful blend of spooky and serious. One moment you're investigating a genuinely horrifying scene, the next, the game hits you with dark humor. A perfect example is in the village of 𝐲𝐬. The party finds a seemingly peaceful town, but something is clearly off. It's soon revealed that the entire population are cannibals who transform into monstrous cat demons. It's a sequence that is both disturbing and absurd, a kind of spooky humor that becomes a game's signature style. But Shadow Hearts knows exactly when to stop joking and deliver pure emotional devastation. Early on, Alice is trying to understand what happened to her father, a priest murdered by the game's initial antagonist, a warlock named Roger Bacon. When she finally revisits the alley where he died, the game doesn't soften the blow. In a harrowing cutscene, she remembers seeing her father struck down by Bacon's spell. There are no jokes or witty remarks from Yuri. There is Alice's grief and a player's shock. It's a powerful, sombering moment that firmly establishes the stakes. As the story progresses, the scale of the conflict escalates dramatically. The party finds themselves in Shanghai, trying to stop another warlock, 𝐸𝐻𝐸, from opening a reverse demon gate to summon a powerful entity known as the Seraphic Radiance. In a stunning turn of events, they fail. The Seraphic Radiance is unleashed, completely annihilating Shanghai in a blast of light. In a shocking moment of failure with real consequences, Yuri is consumed by the blast and falls into a coma, his mind trapped in its own despair. This leads to one of the game's most powerful sequences. Alice, now alone, must venture into the graveyard of Yuri's subconscious to save him. She literally offers her own soul to the demonic entities that govern Yuri's power, the Four Masks, to pull him back from the brink. It's a heroic sacrifice that foreshadows her ultimate fate and solidifies her role as the game's emotional core. After this, the party eventually reforms in Europe. Their mission now clear: hunt down the man responsible, Albert Simon, who has been masquerading as Roger Bacon. This shift connects the game to its predecessor, Kadolka, with the party visiting familiar locations like the Nemetin Monastery, now infested with old horrors. Shadow Hearts' story is a relentless, globe-trotting odyssey that's unafraid to be bleak, to let its heroes fail, and to explore the darkest corners of both history and the human soul. If the story is the soul of Shadow Hearts, then its gameplay is its brilliantly flawed, relentless beating heart. At the center of it all is the most innovative, stressful, and rewarding system ever put in a turn-based JRPG, the Judgment Ring. In almost any other RPG of the era, selecting attack your character just did it. Success was guaranteed, and if not, you got some arbitrary percentage of success, like 55.5% or some shit. Shadow Hearts throws that out the window. Here, every single action from physical attacks and magic to using items is governed by the Judgment Ring. When you choose a command, a circular dial appears with sweeping needle. You have to hit the button as the needle passes through the colored section. The main hit areas determine if your action works at all. Miss and your character fumbles their attacks, wastes their turn, or drops the healing potion. It's brutal, punishing, and in the early hours, incredibly frustrating. But inside those hit areas are smaller, brightly colored strike areas. Land the needle in these and your attacks hit harder. Your spell is more potent and your buff is more effective. This is where the genius of the system shines. It transforms passive turn-based combat into an active skill-based challenge. Every turn matters. Every button press is tense. You're executing the commands that you give your allies, not just being a passive observer anymore. Oddly, you'd think I'd be better at games like Sekiro having beat this game, but nope, not at all. Landing a perfect string of strike hits feel amazing, while missing by just a hair is heartbreaking. You can even customize the ring, make the hit areas larger for an easier time, but it could shrink the strike areas. It's a constant risk reward on your own reflexes. Hell, and when you get really good at knowing where to strike, you can even double your damage by turning off the visuals of the ring altogether. Then there's the fusion system, Yuri's signature ability. He isn't just a fighter, he's a living vessel for demons, man. By defeating elemental guardians, you can fuse with them, transforming into dozens of different monsters, each with unique stats and abilities that cost MP to use. Want to be a hulking earth beast? Go for it. Fiery demon lord? No problem. A winged creature able to control the winds? Absolutely. This system provides staggering strategic depth, but in true Shadow Hearts fashion, it comes with a terrifying catch. Each turn Yuri takes while fused costs sanity points, or SP. If his SP hits 0, he goes berserk, uncontrollably attacking his friends and foes alike. This forces you to manage your time in demon form very carefully. On top of that, the more Yuri battles for soul power needed to gain new fusions, the more malice he accumulates. Let the malice gauge fill up and you'll be hunted in your own soul. At first, a specter of Yuri's father named Foxface will appear in random encounters to claim your soul. Later, after Alice's sacrifice, the four masks themselves begin hunting you. These fights are brutally difficult and serve as a constant looming threat, a punishment for relying on dark powers. The fusion and malice systems perfectly represent the core's themes, the struggle between humanity and monstrosity, the price of power. It's a brilliant, terrifying system that makes every battle a heart-pounding dance with disaster. For much of the game, Shadow Hearts builds up a central villain who seems fairly standard. He's an English warlock named Roger Bacon, obsessed with ancient magic. He's the one who attacks on the train, pulls the strings, and serves as the party's main target. But this is a game that loves to subvert expectations. Around the halfway point, it pulls the rug out from under you with a twist that recontextualizes the entire story. The Roger Bacon we've been chasing is an imposter. His real name is Cardinal Albert Simon, a high-ranking Vatican official who stole the identity of the true 13th century philosopher Roger Bacon. This reveal is a bombshell. The man who murdered Alice's father and manipulated events in Shanghai wasn't just some rogue sorcerer. He was a master schemer hiding in the shadows of a powerful institution. But the real gut punch is his motivation. He isn't seeking power for its own sake. He looked at the world, the corruption, the greed, the endless wars, and found it wanting. His grand plan is to use an ancient flying fortress called the Float to summon a being he calls God and trigger an apocalypse, wiping humanity's slate clean so a better world can be born from the ashes. What makes this twist so effective is that, on some level, he has a point. He mentions being able to see the future and seeing a dark shadow about to envelop the world. The world of Shadow Hearts is a dark and cruel place. Our heroes have seen its corruption firsthand. They even find themselves agreeing with parts of Simon's diagnosis of the humanity's sickness. They're not fighting him because they think the world is perfect. They're fighting for the innocent people who would be consumed by his righteous fury. This elevates Simon from a simple villain to a tragic antagonist whose noble intentions have been twisted into a monstrous crusade. Because if you remember, this game is set in 1913. The dark future he is seeing for humanity is World War I and World War II. And there's one final twist that ties it all together. Remember the mysterious voice guiding Yuri from the beginning? The one that told him to protect Alice? It's revealed that this voice belongs to 𝐜𝐨𝐽𝐻, the protagonist of the prequel game. Initially held in a mental asylum, she willingly went with Albert Simon after he threatened her son's life, all while trying to thwart his plans from within. This reveal provides a satisfying link to the series' lore and adds another layer of personal stake to the final fight. It's no longer just about saving the world, it's about freeing 𝐸𝐸𝐻 and avenging the countless lives he destroyed. This is the turn where all the game's desperate threads snap together into a single epic narrative. The climax of Shadow Hearts happens aboard the float. As it ascends to the heavens, the party confronts Simon one last time, then faces the alien entity he summoned. And if you've ever felt that the beating god is just another Tuesday in a Final Fantasy game thing, well, Shadow Hearts gives you your chance here too. They succeed, the world is saved, but victory in Shadow Hearts is never simple, and here that game delivers its most daring and divisive choice. The game has two endings, depending on your actions throughout the journey. The good ending is what you'd expect from your efforts. To get it, you have to be meticulous, defeating the 4 masks that hunt you in the Malice system, acquiring a specific item before a key story event. Do all this, and the final scene shows Yuri and Alice on a trade ride. He's holding her, and she wakes up, sitting with him to watch the landscape go by. They get their happy ending. It's sweet and satisfying, and it's not canon. The bad ending is the game's default and true ending. If you play without a guide, or you miss those obscure objectives, this is the conclusion you'll see. The scene is nearly identical. Yuri is on a train holding Alice, but this time she doesn't wake up. He cries, trying to rouse her, but her head just tilts to the side, lifeless. The world is saved, but he has lost the one person he loves most. It is a profoundly tragic conclusion. This is maybe the most potent example of what makes Shadow Hearts a perfect mess. The developers made the heartbreaking, downbeat ending the canonical one. The story that continues into the celebrated sequel, Shadow Hearts Covenant, is born from Yuri's grief and loss. It's a bold, almost cruel decision that flies in the face of conventional video game storytelling, which almost always rewards player effort with a happy outcome. By making the tragic end the correct one, the game fully commits to its dark, somber tone. It makes a definitive statement that in this world, victory always comes at a terrible price. It's a choice that might leave you feeling empty, but it's also what makes the story of Shadow Hearts truly unforgettable. So after all of that, is it actually worth the hassle to play Shadow Hearts in the modern era? The short answer is a resounding yes. Getting a PS2 game running today can be a project, whether through emulation or hunting down an original disc. But the experience is more than worth the effort. This isn't just a game for retro enthusiasts chasing nostalgia. It's for anyone looking for a fun, compelling story that they genuinely haven't seen before. The blend of historical fiction, gothic horror, and absurd comedy is a formula that few games have ever tried and none have replicated with the same chaotic charm. If you're tired of the same old fantasy tropes and want a narrative that will constantly surprise you, well, this is it. The journey through the first game is made even more rewarding by its sequel, Shadow Hearts Covenant, which many fans consider to be one of the best JRPGs of all time. But to fully appreciate that story, you'll need the foundation of loss and grief, laid by the first game's tragic conclusion. So if you're looking for a series with a story that's truly unique, characters you'll never forget, and you're willing to embrace a bit of PS2 era jank, you'll absolutely should play Shadow Hearts. What are your memories of Shadow Hearts? Did you play it back in the day, or did you discover this cult classic later? Let me know in the comments, and if you have another perfectly flawed JRPG you think deserves the spotlight, I'd love to hear about it. After more than 2 decades, Shadow Hearts remains an anomaly. It's janky, frustrating, and tonally bizarre. Its graphics are muddy, its difficulty is unforgiving, and its hero is a pervert. And it is, without a doubt, a masterpiece. Its flaws aren't separate from its strengths, they are woven together. The stress of the Judgment Ring makes every victory feel earned. The darkness of the story makes the moments of humor shine that much brighter. The unrefined, ambitious design is a testament to a time when a major JRPG could afford to be weird and take risks. It's the product of a developer, 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬, that dared to tell a different kind of story, one steeped in real-world history, Lovecraftian horror, and profound sadness. Today, the series is tragically dormant, its rights held by a company with no apparent plans for a remaster or sequel. And maybe that's part of its mystique. Shadow Hearts will likely never get the modern remake it deserves. It is destined to remain a relic of the PS2 era, a true hidden gem. You have to seek it out. But for those of you who do, it offers an experience unlike any other. It is a perfect mess, a flawed diamond, and a powerful reminder that sometimes the most memorable works of art are the ones that aren't afraid to be a little bit broken. You know what, guys? We should demand this series gets the love it deserves and either get a remake, a remaster, or just have the company that owns the rights give it over to someone who can make another entry with love so that we can experience this dark masterpiece in today's world of gaming. So that maybe it can get a new audience of people who love it, like so many of us in the back alleys of places like Facebook RPG section, or even the scary depths of Reddit. Let's hope for something like this to happen. Maybe if enough people watch this video, it can change the company's mind. Honestly, guys, this video is one that I have wanted to make since the beginning of the channel. However, I wanted to get both big enough and good enough at the channel to try to get the word out as much as I can about this amazing series of games that for me started with Shadow Hearts. Do me a favor and share this video with anyone you know who likes classic games, that likes to ask you about games that they should try. Like the video and subscribe to help me get more videos like this one out. And like always, guys, remember, be good to each other. See you in the next video. Peace.